welcome to the second episode of Indie Insights podcast, Kris. And I would love my viewers to know more about you. So, would you like to introduce yourself to my audience?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for inviting me. My name is Kris. I I was born in Poland, but 6 years ago I moved to Thailand, where I live right now. Primarily, I'm a designer. I finished Fine Arts Academy, where my major was painting, so I'm a painter. But my minor was a graphic design and multimedia, so I learned graphic design there. After I graduated, I started my own company, design company.
Okay.
I was designing websites, for example. Later, this app evolved to UX design because I understood more about UX, that the website, the interactive things that we design. It's not only what we see, but also how it works, many other aspects of it. So I started learning UX and I became a UX designer. It was around 2012 when I started professional work as a UX designer. And at some point, a few years ago, I also wanted to create my own apps. I had some ideas for apps, and I started to learn coding. More or less at the time when Apple released Swift UI, because I briefly tried UIKit, but there was no spark between us.
I got it.
Yeah. But I really enjoy Swift UI. I really loved it when it was like a love at first sight, we might say. Yeah. So especially that I had some experience a little with web development, and in many ways Swift UI is similar.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. So I started to create my own apps. I started to develop them around 5 years ago, and 4 or 5, something like that. And right now I have 5 iOS apps on the App Store.
Awesome, Kris. I mean, your transition from being a painter to getting into UX, that makes me curious to ask you that what happened? Like, how did you decide to get into this digital space?
I mean, it was more complex. I think if you start to analyze anyone's journey, right? That it's never a straight line, right? There are people change, right? Throughout their life. So since I was very young, since I was a kid, I was a few years old when my dad bought us first computer, and I was really fascinated by it, and I loved games. I wanted to make games. As many people that start in tech, I think that that's like the first dream is to make video games, right?
Right.
I also but I really like the artistic creative part of this mostly, right? So for example, I liked animations and computer graphics very much, and 3D graphics when the boom started. And primarily, I wanted to be an animator. I wanted to make animations, so something related with this, but I didn't get to the film school that I tried. Yeah, my first try. I think I was a little late for the exams. I should prepare many things for the exams a few months earlier, but I found out about this too late. So and I ended up studying computer science. I was thinking, maybe it's related to animations and video games. Maybe this will be fun, but it wasn't. It was mostly mathematics, and I felt like in high school all over again, and I quit after 3 months. So later I thought maybe I would pursue this art career, right? This dream to be an artist. yeah, but I was also always all my life I was very interested in, you know, computer science, computers, and technology. So this was I I finished this art academy, but I was working on my animations. As I was creating websites, for example, my online portfolio. So like a web development was very interesting for me that time. But
Okay.
all of this it was before the iPhone, right? So that career that we have right now, that we are iOS developers and we create mobile applications. This didn't exist when I was studying, right? When I was
Okay.
studying in art academy. So this is interesting how sometimes that maybe there is something that you would like to do, that you will find this passion, but strangely enough, this job doesn't exist yet, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so later, you know, like from art to design to web development to UX, that like I learned more about UX, and later from UX to my love for Apple and design. Like I love Apple's design very much. Like I love what they are doing with their apps, with iPhone.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and from this, like I really loved mobile. I loved mobile websites and mobile applications. And from this, from UX and these fascinations about design and mobile design, I went to development. That I wanted to create something for my own. Uh-huh.
Okay. And I mean, Chris, you got into UX, right? And you mentioned UX was something that you really liked at that point, and you are
Mhm.
continuing with that as well, along with your development career, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Can you simplify UX? What is UX, and what's the difference between when we say UI, UX, and
Okay.
what's the thin line between that? Yeah.
While UI is user interface, right? This is first letters of user interface. UX is user experience. So this is like a bigger picture. Like a
Yeah.
UI is part of UX, but UX is the whole thing.
Okay.
So, for example, like if you have an app on the iPhone, right? Maybe this app is beautiful, like it has very good, modern, beautiful, minimalistic UI, and you like how it looks, right? But maybe it doesn't solve your problems correctly. That you downloaded this app for some reason, and
Okay.
there are maybe some features missing, and maybe some other features are not easy to use, or maybe the app is crashing, right? So there
Right.
are those other aspects of your whole experience, that you downloaded this beautiful app, but later you try to use it and it's
Right.
not what you expected it to be,
Hmm.
and it's crashing, or it's maybe it's you save some data, but later this data is gone, for example, right? So all those things are part uh, of the whole experience of you as a user experiencing
Right.
this app, right?
Right.
So as a UX designer, as UX designers, we try to design the whole experience. So
Okay.
yeah, so we do some research, we talk with the users, we try to understand what should be in the app, what features do we need, what problems we want to solve, how we want to solve them, for who
Hmm.
will use the app, right? All those things.
Okay.
We talk with developers about technology. You know, we should be aware of the technology. We need to
Right.
know what we can do, what is not possible, what is easier to develop, what is not. We also need to, so we talk with users, we talk with developers, we talk with business, because maybe users have some expectations. Maybe developers will tell us that we can do this, but this will take 1 year to develop, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
later comes business, that business says, look, whoa, maybe slow down, maybe this is not the way to go, like cannot afford to do it, right? So
Right.
but maybe So we are trying to find another way of solving this problem that maybe will be easier, that maybe will be affordable. So there are all those aspects.
Okay.
It's more like
And how much is it important for anyone who is building his or her own application? Because in Indie Insights podcast, we focus on people who want to develop their application or who are already developing their application. So, how does this UX part add value to their process and life cycle of building an application?
it's very important, right? Like, I, so this is some strength that I have. Like I'm working in this field few years, right? Like in general in tech and few years as a developer as well. I can see my strengths and weaknesses, right? Like so, for example, my
Right.
weakness is that I'm still not as good developer as many of my friends that I've met, right? Like that they
Okay.
have more developer background, but my strength is that I have more experience in designing, right? Like because later
Right.
people will use the app, real people. It's
Makes sense.
very often people that, and I'm not saying that developers don't have this UX knowledge and experience sometimes, because if they work a lot with in this field, if they read about design, if they read some tutorials, watch some YouTube tutorials, or even from Apple has many good WWDC videos that are focused on design, right?
Okay.
They have a special category for
Yeah.
this. So there are many developers that are very aware of this, and especially when they listen to their users, to customers, to when they read the feedback, when they talk with people. Like there are many good developers that make very cool apps that really they work very good. But very often, people that are very focused just on development, on coding, they think in terms of code and features. Like for example, for them,
Okay.
right? Like a better app is if it has more
Yeah.
features, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they don't do research and they don't know that no one cares about most of those features, right? And
Right.
what we have sometimes is we have those apps that have so many buttons and controls and so complex UI that you can do anything. It's like I don't know, like a driving spaceship, like there are so many
Okay.
features you can use,
Right.
but you don't need those things. And very often, like it makes the app more complex because it's not easy for the user to
Right.
find, in those all complex UI, those things that they actually need. And very often this has a negative impact on accessibility. Even Apple recommends in their materials and their
Yeah.
videos that simpler UI is better for accessibility, right? Like imagine
True.
that you turn on voiceover that will read you what's on the screen, right? Like if there are just the most important features that you need, it will be
Right.
just few seconds, right?
Right.
Imagine like a 50 features on the screen, 50 buttons,
And
and
then you are having
listening to,
voiceover.
yeah.
I get it. I get it. So, Chris, how can somebody learn about this UX part if they have to, be very careful about how many features should be there? Not just the features, I believe, if they have to plan out what should be the experience of the end user and uh, how they can implement that, what can be the possible way they can learn about UX and then implement it into their own application? What would you suggest?
Yeah, so there are a few ways. For example, through your experience as a developer, if you work on this app more time and you listen to your users, right? Like you read their feedback. It's very very good to also conduct usability tests, which I can tell you
Right.
more about, which I
Mm-hmm.
always try to conduct for my apps.
Mm-hmm.
So during such tests, you see how people actually use the app. So it's not just like that someone will use it and it will send you email or something that's I missed this feature, this didn't work, or this app crashed when
Okay.
I did this. but you would actually see how people use the app, and this changes your perspective very much. I think this is the best way that through your experience as a developer, experiencing those situations where looking at people that try to use your app without your guidance, just like
Right.
you give them some task to do, like a please try my app, please do this, and later you're quiet and you just look how they use this.
Right.
That you find out what we call them pain points, right? Like a pain points in the user flow. So some steps that are very difficult for people, that are
Right.
not easy, that people cannot pass. Some step, maybe they don't understand something is not clear. Sometimes just texts, labels are, if you change labels, sometimes it makes it more clear. Sometimes
Okay.
maybe you have icons that for you they are very clear because like I use this icon, I know what does this icon mean, but you will show this app to other people and they just see icons and they don't understand the meaning behind the icons. So sometimes
Right.
changing the icon to the label can be a problem solver. But other ways, what else can you do is that you can watch videos about UX. For example, those mentioned Apple's Dab videos. They have
Okay.
many good videos about design where they very often they recommend using some things, for example, some parts of the UI, and very often they explain why using this UI is better than using another UI, because as a developers we have
Okay.
many things to choose from, right? You can
Right.
show a pop-up, you can show some action, but
Action sheet
bottom
or
of,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
action sheet at the bottom of the
Yeah.
screen. So there are reasons where there are situations where one will be better than another, and even
Right.
Apple explains very often why you should use this, right, rather than something else. There are UX podcasts, there are many interesting books that you could read that could
Can you
make
name a few for
a
podcasts
few.
and books?
I've been listening to some podcasts few years ago. Last few years, I focus more on the development, so I focus more on this. But if you want, maybe I can give you some links later. Maybe like we can
Sure, I'll
add
pin
some
them in the
links in the
description box.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Also with books, there is very good book that I think it's a good starting point when you want to learn about UX. This is a book by Steve Krug or Steve Krug. I don't know
Okay.
how to pronounce the
No
last.
worries.
It's a very short and easy, fun to read book about design, about UX design, mostly focused, from what I remember, because I read it a few years ago, on web development. But many things are really. It's just there's also a chapter about those usability tests that I told you about, even with the script that you could use during such tests.
Okay.
So I think it's a very good book to start.
Okay.
There are some publications also in Polish that I've read, so I don't know if if I should recommend. We can, right? Maybe you have
I mean,
some.
you can. That's your personal, that's your
Yeah.
personal take on what all resources can be really good to get into it.
There was also one book. It's few years old. It's not super new, but it was about designing websites and
Okay.
from Smashing magazine, which was popular a few years ago, and I don't know if it still exists, to be honest, because
Okay.
I haven't go there to their website a long time ago, but it was very good resource when I was starting. And this book is very good because each chapter tells you a lot about different aspects of UX. For example, there is a separate chapter about UX personas, another about
I see.
hallway testing, another about designing user flows. It's really good because like you read, after you read all those chapters, like you really will have some basics of many aspects of UX design that maybe you were not
Right.
aware that.
Right. And what's this usability testing that you were talking about? Like, is it some tracking mechanism or what?
No, it's. I mean, you can use some tools for eye tracking, for example, during this test. But no. Mostly we focus just on we invite user in a professional environment. When I was working in Poland with some big telecom companies, we were conducting some
Okay.
usability tests for them in a more professional environment. That we hired some external agency that we prepared prototypes for them of some website, for example, that we want to test.
All right.
We hired this company. They had the user base, like people that they could contact and invite them for such tests.
All right.
And they had a special room for this. It's special because there is a Venice mirror in this room. So
Okay.
the room itself is not super special. It's just a desk with laptop or some computer, two chairs for the person that conducts the tests and for the user that will try to solve problem with our app or website. And there is a Venice mirror that we sit behind the mirror, we as designers, for example, and
Okay.
maybe some product manager or whoever wants to participate, and we are just staring at this glass that for them is mirror, for us is window.
Oh, it's a transparent. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So we are just, and there are also microphones in this room, so we can hear everything, right? So
Right.
so we are just looking at those people trying to solve the problems with our apps and with our websites that we designed.
Right.
And suddenly,
Right.
like during some such tests, you learn a lot. Like what did you do wrong, right? Like that maybe you add some text, like that. I remember one of those first tests that I've seen like this. I designed some website with some map and some text, I think it's English called the same as in Polish, legend, right? Like that you have those
Okay.
explanations under the map, right? Like
Yeah.
what
I get it.
what each button will do, what this image means, and like there we put a lot of this text that will explain everything to users, but no one read it, right? So like
Right.
this was like an eye opener for me, like, oh my, right? Like people don't read, right? Like it's just
Right.
you just need to make everything so easy for them to use that without reading. I mean, of course, there are different apps, different groups of users. Some people, maybe if the app is more for professional use, that maybe people will read more. Maybe they will even go for to read documentation. But what we were building at the time, it was like for general users, like for people that are using their mobile phones and they wanted to go to the website to just manage their plan, to check how many minutes they have, how
Right.
many gigabytes of internet they use, things like that. And this map that we designed was like that's where you will have a strong signal. Like if you go somewhere that's like where you will have 4G, for example, and
Okay.
things like that. Yeah, so this was really interesting that like after I designed those things and like people didn't know how to use it. Right? So those tests, very often we invite just maybe 5 people around this, right? Like sometimes 3, 4, sometimes a little more. And we were working in this system that we were updating the prototypes after each person. Like for example, if some,
Okay.
I don't know, if first person discovered had very big problem with our prototype, right? Like that it was clear that even we tested this with one person, but it was already clear for us that like, no, that there is some very big problem, like that probably other people will have this problem as well. So we would already change something, right? Like, and later we would invite another person, give them the same tasks, and look at them if those fixes that we just made are fix the problem for the user.
And one question that I have is like, do you invite the people that matches with the persona that you were thinking of while developing that prototype, or do you invite
Yeah,
anyone for that?
if you can, you do
Okay.
invite people that match the persona, and this is what we were doing that time. And I remember one time this company this external company that agency that we hired messed up a little, like that maybe one or two people were like a completely they didn't match our persona at all, and
Okay.
they were clearly there just for the money, to collect the money for the testing, so yeah, so this can happen as well, but it depends on the depends on a few factors, right? Like it depends on the product that you are building, because some products, as you know, that those products are for some specific audience. Maybe you are building some tool for developers, right? So you will invite developers because yeah, let's say you are designing Xcode and you invite someone that never touched Xcode, right? No, they don't know anything about programming, right? Maybe you invite, I don't know, some 5-year-old boy to that doesn't have any experience in coding to test Xcode, right?
Right.
But maybe you are developing, I don't know, some app for teenagers that invite those teenagers, right? Like in this group. As a developers, as an indie developers, right? Like we don't have the budgets that big companies
that you can
have.
invite these people and then you can test.
Yeah. So what I do is most of my apps are for general audience. Like they are not super targeted, right? Like maybe one of my apps, Moons, it's a time tracker, so it's more for freelancers, for example, right?
Okay.
But most of my apps are for anyone. But even if I have, I don't know, this app Moons, that it's more targeted towards freelancers, there are still some aspects of the app that sometimes you can test with bigger audience, right? Yeah. So you need to be very smart about deciding what part of the app you will test, how you will test that, because you need to be creative. When you don't have the budget, you need to be creative, which
You
is
need to be creative.
sometimes very good. Because I told you about this story about testing like in professional environment for big companies. But as an indie developer, I don't have the budget. I will not hire some external agency and things like that. And also where I'm living, I don't have many people that I could test with. So what I'm doing as an indie developer, I'm using FaceTime and I test my apps remotely. And it's just one-on-one that I have a similar call like we have right now. I invite someone. Very often it's just someone from my network, because maybe my friends. I invite them. I give them the TestFlight link just maybe 2 minutes before the call, because I don't want they use the app earlier.
You want to see their actual reaction or their real reaction to the application when they launch it and open the first screen.
Yeah. And I always start like this, that I have prepared scripts, like something that I tell everyone. I always tell them that we will not test you, we will test the app. So when something is not good with the app, this means that the problem is with the app, and the problem is that because I designed it wrong, right? It's not if it's difficult, it means that there is a problem with the app. And also, even I have this script that I have some tasks for them. Right? Like for example, I was testing this app, this time tracker, and I had tasks for people like please create a project for I don't know building a website, right? Like
Okay.
because people from my network are developers, maybe they need to create a website for their app. So I had like a you will track time for when you want to build your website. So they needed to create a project. They needed to add some tasks. They needed to start timer, right? I had another task for them. Please export all your time entries to the CSV file, right? Just like a general, very general task. I never tell them specifically, please go to this tab and please try to do this, right? Because this is like destroys the purpose of the task.
True.
I just try to write those scripts in the most generic way, general, just like to tell them what problem they need to solve. And even I try to avoid, when I write those tasks for them, I try to avoid very specific words, because sometimes
I see.
maybe you will tell them something too specific, and the word that you use, there is this big tab in your app that like when they see this word, like that there will be this mental connection.
Messaging. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will directly go to this tab,
Right.
not because it's
And that
easy, but
fails the
because
purpose
it's sort
of
of,
you asking them.
yeah. And even though I have those scripts, I always start like for the first few seconds, please just use the app like you downloaded it for the first time.
Yeah.
Just just do whatever you would do with the app, the new app that you have.
Okay.
And I will have few tasks for you in a moment, but now just please look around. And I always tell people, please think out loud, because I don't
Right.
only want to know what they are looking at, but why. I want to know
Yeah.
their process, right?
Psychology, yeah, behind using that
Yeah.
application.
So you asked me
Got
about
it.
those tracking. So there are some tools for eye tracking, but I don't need them, because like when I conduct those tests like this, right? Like I'm seeing their screen on FaceTime when they search when they share their screen with me.
Right.
I see a video, I see their faces, and I hear their voice. Like when they talk out loud, think out loud. I know what they want to do, right? So like
It's
I
like a
don't.
it's like an interviewing round. It sounds like that because you have given a problem to them and you are
Yes.
just figuring out if they are being able to understand the problem itself or not.
Yes. And what is important very much here is that like if you so far from what I'm telling you, it doesn't sound difficult, right, to conduct such
Yeah.
tests,
Right.
right? So anyone, any indie developer could do it.
Right.
So there's just one important thing as well, apart from what I said already, that uh, please try to control your ego and your emotions, because very often, especially when this is your first time, right? You
Right.
design this app and you know that this feature is there, right? They just need to
Yeah.
click this, tap on this button, and this feature is there. So the first time, maybe you will be a little frustrated, right?
Got it.
because people tap on everything but not this
Right.
icon, right? Like but
Right.
you so you just like control your emotions, control your ego. Please understand that even when people will have the problem with the app, that it's not something bad about you as a person that created this,
Right.
because no one is perfect designer or perfect developer.
Makes
This is
sense.
what, yeah. So
We all keep
just,
iterating.
yes, we need many iterations, right? Like
Makes
yeah.
sense.
So just very you should not help them too much. Just give them those
Yeah.
tasks, and let them try to figure it out by themselves. and only jump in and only help them if they really stuck, and you know, like you will not move forward with this
Yeah.
test. You
Yeah.
cannot go to next task that you have because like they are really stuck. Only the time you help them, but if not, just be patient and just look what they are doing and
Just
make
observe.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, I thought it might be something very attached to a framework or something, but I felt that when you explained me how you go about this process, this is very real, very organic in the way it is conducted, right? It
Yeah,
is more or less like having a unit testing for an application, uh,
yeah, I
but done
think,
by done by some human, which is again a manual one.
yeah, it's very good metaphor, like a it's like what unit tests are for developers, that usability
Yeah,
tests are for UX designers. So
for
yeah, yeah.
yeah, got it.
Uh, Also, you know, like if you have people around you, you don't need this FaceTime. Just like take your iPhone and give it to your friend or someone in your family.
Yeah.
I tested when my parents visited us in Thailand. I tested my apps with my mom and dad. You know, just like
Okay.
I gave them my phone and asked them to do something, and yeah, and just uh, this kind of testing that is less professional environment, in less
Hmm.
professional environment, hawk, you know, we call it hallway testing, because very
Hmm.
often people just, I don't know, maybe in your workplace you will meet someone in the hallway and you will just
Yeah.
ask them, hey, you have few minutes, do you have few minutes, can you look at my app and try to do this, and just so it can be super easy and just like a few minutes, and those few
Hmm.
minutes will be super valuable for you. And
Right.
I think this, um, I see many developers, many indie developers, that their testing is they just start a test flight and send test flight link to other people. This is only
Okay.
thing they are doing, and I
And they
think
may be looking at the metrics that they have on their end, maybe analytics metric, right?
yeah, like a test flight can help you with many things, but okay, from those things, you very often you will learn what percent of people is doing something, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know, but you will never know why. You will know,
Why?
yeah,
Okay.
what they are doing. That maybe 90% of people tap this button, 10% tap this button, but
Yeah.
you will not know why. It's really hard to understand those things. Like this is why when you're testing in with real person in real life, and you ask them, think out loud, tell me what you are doing. Why did you tap on this button, right?
Got it.
Yeah, you will learn different kind of things. This is why we divide tests, research, like qualitative, so sorry, I know those terms in Polish, but quantitative
No worries.
research and
Yeah.
qualitative, right? Like a quantity is like a, for example, Google Analytics telemetry deck, right? That
Okay.
you just have maybe, I don't know, 1 million users, and you know that 100,000 tap on this and the rest tap there. But qualitative testing is
Qualitative.
that
Yeah.
yeah, that you test quality of the app. Look at those, you have different answers, you are testing different
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Test flight is wonderful, I'm using it as well, and sending, it's, there's nothing wrong with sending those links and testing with more people. Yeah, so it's great, but you will learn different things.
Right.
So please test with real people in real life, give them your phone and just look at them what they're doing.
With how many people do you generally test your application? Like, let's say 5 people, 10 people.
Yeah, so it's always uh, it's very
Like,
good
how
to
much? I'm asking this
uh-huh.
question because I'm trying to understand how much data is enough for you to make your
Yeah,
understanding on what needs to be done now.
yeah, because the answer, we can understand this question differently. I know what you mean, that like for example, one time, for example, I want to release new app, right, and I want to test it before releasing it, like
Yeah.
how many people I will invite. So around 5, sometimes 3, sometimes 8. Like I try to have a little more than 5, but very often after 2 or 3 people, you will start to understand the biggest problems and you will start to see patterns. Really, sometimes it's just 2 people. Look at that. They did everything you asked them for. Everything was except this one thing. Both people had very big problem. Like they spent, I don't know, 2 minutes trying to figure this out, right?
Okay.
And at this point, you can make some changes, or maybe if you're not sure, you will test it with another person. So what I was doing is that I invited, maybe for my last app, it was maybe 7 or 8 people. And not the same day. I had for example, one person was on Monday, another was on Wednesday, another on Thursday. I needed some time. For example, if one person or 2 people will find some big problem with my app, I will make some changes, and I will use person number 3 or 4 to check if the changes that I made were good or not. So my app changed very much in the last week before release when I conducted those tests, because people really found many things, problems that I fixed them. Like the last person, almost 0 problem, right?
And then
of course,
you are sure that now I can release this version.
Yeah. Of course, there were still some suggestions, maybe you can add this feature, maybe I'm not saying that my app is perfect in any sense. I would like to have macOS version, which I still don't have. I know I have a long list of features that I want to add, but the core function, but the core functionality, the core features that should work, that my app is mainly for tracking time, managing your projects, and later exporting this data, because maybe you are working for some client and you want to send an invoice to them based on how many hours you work on. So export the data, right? So this is the core functionality. This needs to work, right? I still maybe don't have some widget that I would like to have. I don't have other things, but this is the core functionality. And these few people that I tested with helped me to make it work.
I see. Awesome, man. How do you come across new ideas for your application? You told me that you have published 5 applications so far, right?
Yeah.
So how did you come across ideas for these 5 applications? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So this is one of my strengths and also weaknesses, because maybe I have too many ideas. And
How come?
Yeah, you know this. Many indie developers have this problem, right? They have 5 apps, but oh wow, I have this new idea for this app. And you want to start new project. Right?
Yeah.
There are a few ways that you can do few things. It depends on your goals, I would say. If your main goal is just, if you are here for the money, you want to make money on your apps, I would approach this differently. Maybe I would do more market research, or make a list of apps that I could make and problems that could be solved. I would check which problem has the biggest business potential, right?
Got it.
But as I just started to learn, and to be honest, I just wanted to fix some problems that I personally had. So one of the ideas, my first app that I started building, this was third app that I released because it was very big, but it was my first idea. Expense tracker, just to control your money and budget. So I wanted to fix a problem, my own problem with this. But my first app that I actually released, Skoro, it's just a scoreboard for games. I released it after a few days of development because this was an app that my parents needed. They during the pandemic and lockdown, they were at home, and just they had a lot of time, and they were playing some games and cards, and they just recently they bought iPhones, so they didn't have some app that they could just keep scores of card games that they're playing.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so I
That's
solved
interesting.
their problem, and so I released this app 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, in the beginning of February 2 years ago.
Okay.
And for most of this time, this was my best-selling app.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is funny because we have those ideas, and this also shows like how important is research, right?
Yeah.
That on other apps, I spent maybe like 2 years of development, right? Like, and I added all those
And you
complex
spent how
features.
much time on this one that
Uh,
you made for your parents?
for version 1.0, this was like maybe 3 or 4 days of work.
Wow.
Yeah, because in first version it was super simple. I didn't. If I even didn't have some functionality that you could save those games and later start new game. It was just like it was very simple.
A
Just
very static screen where you can just plus or minus the score for each
yeah. You
for
just
the participant.
add your player name and another player
Right.
name, and you have big plus and big minus, and it will just show you how many how many points you
And
have,
if you
right? So
terminate the app, then the score has gone. Is that
no. I did persist the data,
okay?
but if you want to start new game, you needed to reset the scoreboard, right? So like
Okay.
there was no way to for example, save this game in history
Game.
that like oh, two
Okay.
years ago I won with my friend or
Got it.
whatever, right?
Got it.
So this was one of the first features that people wanted that I
Okay.
implement. So now it's there. Now it's also on iPad. So later I continue to work on this, and I still I'm adding new things, and I'm improving things based on users' feedback. Uh, yeah, but the first version, my first money as an iOS developer was from this app that I made in 3 or 4 days. Yeah, so this was
That's an amazing story.
yeah. This
Yeah.
was
And
funny in
and
some way.
how do you get the feedback loop in the place? Have you some functionality over there, a dedicated screen for feedback, or
So feedback from App Store reviews, or
okay,
I also implemented a very simple mechanism that just button that like when people tap on this button that your default mail client on iOS will open, and you can people can send me an email.
okay,
So people are sending emails. Yeah.
nice, that's
also
nice.
also if I know some people that are using it, like because already now in my network that some of my friends bought it, and sometimes they will write directly to me, so on social media as well, right? Like that sometimes people contact me on directly on through DMs.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah. What's your general intent behind making these applications? You started with having real problems, and now what's your focus? Like, do you want to continue on that note itself, or your focus has been shift to making more of these application as a business side of things?
Yeah, I want to make a business of it, and it's going well. It's like maybe I would like it would go faster and better. I'm always I build in public. So sometimes I share, sometimes I write some articles on my blog, like how I solved some problem, and these are some posts about coding. Sometimes from a UX perspective, but how I solve some design problem. I want to write more. Like I have few articles, but I have maybe 30 drafts of articles that I started, but
Okay.
I'm just, I'm doing too many things at the same time. So sometimes it's I need to organize
That
myself
happens.
better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm building in public, and I'm sharing my financial goals, for example. That so first month of my first app, it was maybe like a $5 or $8.
Okay.
Later it was like a $10 or $5. Later it went up a little to $30. And after 2 years, I'm at the point that my apps generate around $200 a month.
Nice.
So there is a clear progress, and to motivate myself, I checked by
The history.
by what percent 2023 was to 2022.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and there's almost 300% of progress in my
Nice.
proceeds.
That's great.
And I checked, like so I will not quit. I will continue that. Maybe in 5 or 6 years, maybe I will have $1 million a year from my apps. But
Yeah.
at this point, it's 200 a month, so it's not huge money. And of course, we don't know if I will keep the trends. Maybe it will be
Yeah.
faster, maybe it will be slower. It's really,
We are always uncertain about that, but we can
yeah,
always try, right?
yeah. So it's going up, but I would like to make it faster, of course. You asked me about what are my goals, right?
Yeah,
So
with the indie applications that you make.
yeah, so I have many goals. I often think about this, that sometimes people focus very much on just one goal, but I'm trying to make a decisions in this whole indie journey to achieve as many things possible doing one thing, right? So
Okay.
for example, I want to continue building apps that solve people's problems, my problems, and other people around me, similar people, that freelancers that
Right.
track their time. With my app Numi, I can make other people control their finances more, so they will save money. So I think these are important problems to solve. So I
Right.
like that my apps are helpful for my users. But also I want to make money on this, right? So I'm also building in public for a few reasons as well. Like, so I write those blog posts for myself to remember how I solve this problem, and later in the future
Okay.
I don't need
That
to
helps you.
learn this again. Yeah, I already have. This will help me. This is some kind of promotion as well, that like more people will follow me, more people will. So I always, when I write those articles, at the end, in the footer, I will add a link to my apps, that like if people want to
Okay.
support me, they can go maybe check out my
Download the
apps.
application. Yeah.
But also I learned a lot from other people when I'm still learning, but especially I really cannot imagine starting all of this without all those people in our community that create this content, that and write those tutorials, record those videos, that teach us how to do those things, right? Because first, when you don't have any experience, this was like a black magic to just like how I can move this code from Xcode to my app, that my app will show up on my
Right.
iPhone, how to do
Right.
it, right? This is not an easy thing when you open Xcode for the first time. Like when you did it a few thousand times, it's super easy. You know what to do, and
Exactly.
you fix the whole workflow, and it's very easy, and your app is connected through Wi-Fi with your laptop. You have everything connected. You just push one button. But to get to this point, it was not easy to install the app, right?
Right.
So 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 all those people helped me so much in our community. Some of them I know, some of those people I don't know them personally, but I watch their tutorials, they help me. So I want to help other people. I want to share what I learned to make it possible for other people to start creating their apps, to improving UX design of their apps, to improving their ASO, to getting more money from their apps, right? And it's very cool that, because many times people will be afraid that, okay, I just made $5 a month from my app, right? Like I'm nobody, right? Like who will even care that like they should follow some people that made 1 million or $1,000 a month, right? Like but it's so not true. Like I met so many people that told me that, Kris, I started to follow you because you shared how you get your first $5 from your app, right?
Yeah.
Like that. So there is really value in this. Like even you are just starting, you're small, your app is not super popular, but you already learn something that other people maybe still don't know this, right? So
Yeah,
it's
true
really
that.
valuable
The one
to
who
share.
has not yet started his journey in the Indeed app development, this blog that tells you how you made your first $5, I think
Yeah.
that's really very helpful for them, right? So that
Yes.
adds value to their life for sure. And by what you just mentioned, I believe that the whole community is more of a real community. Real people are sitting out there, not just pseudo accounts that just post things and then
Mm-hmm.
they just turn it off. So that's great to know. Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you that how do you make sure that your application ranks well on the App Store? So, how do you push your application to a stage where people can where people are first of all able to discover your application and then they are
Mm-hmm.
willing to download it? So, what's your approach behind uh, developing an application? We talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's your approach behind selling your application or marketing your application, so to say?
Okay, so the very important thing here, like one thing is marketing as well, right? But
Yeah.
these things are connected. So what I'm doing for my apps and how I made first few dollars, it was for example on Twitter 2 years ago, where just like a people from my network, they were my first customers, and maybe someone shared my tweet that I released my first app, and first few people bought it. So first it was like this,
Okay.
but now it grew to the more I invest in ASO. I mean, I invest my more time in ASO. I have many more downloads right now. Like my main source of downloads is App Store search, right? So
Okay.
still sharing all those information on social media that I released the app, that I added this feature, something that I'm doing since day one, I would say. That
Mm-hmm.
I always post about every new release, and I release quite often. I don't release. I don't know. Just I'm working on a few months on something, and I release some big update. No, sometimes I will release updates every week. For example, sometimes
Okay.
even after a few days. I add one small feature, I release it, I make some screenshot with, I tell people what exactly is new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I see that change, that more people are doing this as well, and maybe many are doing this better than me already, because they even add some animations, and like it looks really cool, like a new release of their app is like some event, like
Right.
they have
Right.
animations, and like but I was doing this a long time ago, and I saw that many people will just like for example write on social media, version 1.17 of my app is online, just this, right, and link.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is very dry. This doesn't tell anyone like
The
what's the
context.
value? Yeah, the context. What's
Yeah.
the value? Why did you release it? What new features do we have? Maybe we cannot see anything. Why you didn't show us some screenshots, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I try to do those things, and I always, I add more emotions to those things. I use emoji, like that, this celebrating emoji
So does
or
that
some.
work, Kris,
Yeah,
or is it one of the techniques that you just do for the sake of doing it?
I think it works. I that very often I had a very good engagement from those things. That like many
Okay.
people would comment. Like very often I always, maybe not always, right? Because I released many versions, but very often sometimes people will be interested in the feature that you added, but just those things like your messaging and those graphics that you show. Sometimes I show before and after. If I change something that I
Okay.
can show visually this is different, I will show before and after.
Right.
Sometimes when I added new language, for example, when I localized my app to new language, I will add flags of this country that uses this
Okay.
language, or sometimes I start with moons. When I localize to some new language, I added some background with some sightseeing from this country, just like to make it more. I add more personal, more just like that people will identify with, right? Like that.
I see.
Yeah, I translate like oh hello Poland, for example, into Polish,
Okay.
and we'll add this text on the
The
screenshot.
background of the video. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly screenshots. Like I don't
Okay.
do videos because I think
Okay.
it's too much time to do those things. But
I mean, videos help you to show the whole workflow, right? So I believe
yeah, yeah,
that's more easy if you compare. What
yeah,
do you think?
I remember that maybe 2 or 3 times when I added something that really needed a video. Like for example, I changed how we delete something on my list of
Okay.
items, right? That I improved animation, I improved the workflow. So really with
Got it.
static images, it would not work as good as
Right.
with the video. Answer me. And what was interesting, which I didn't expect, uh, many people started to answer. Okay, for example, next language could be Japanese. I can help you with that
Mm-hmm.
because I speak
Oh,
Japanese, right?
okay.
So yeah,
That's a good
for
one.
example, yeah, shout out to Yasuhito who translated most of my apps to Japanese.
Oh, interesting.
He didn't want anything in exchange. Like it was really it was one of those examples when I see how cool is this iOS community, that many
Right.
other developers, they will help you. They don't expect anything. They
For
just
no
they just want to
reason.
help you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really amazing, and I'm trying to do the same, right? Like when I tell people, like if you want someone that will help you with Polish localization, I can help you. But also very often I share something when someone has some questions about ASO or about UX. That like I can help them. I
Right.
helped few of my friends too. I redesigned something for them as well. I sent them some Figma designs for something. I sent
Nice.
code to someone else sent code to me. So like it's really
A
cool, like how.
collaborative community.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
incredible. It's like I have only good things to tell about this community.
That's amazing. Tell us more about ASO, Kris. We haven't touched upon that yet.
Okay, so one of the ways how you can improve your sales, right, and your visibility on the App Store is ASO, which is App Store Optimization, right? And there are a few aspects of this. So when you think about the customer journey, and not talking about the user experience now, but just like the customer journey, like how people see your app for the first time, they decide to download it, and they decide to buy it. So there is this sales funnel, right? Like that we know from other examples of marketing and sales. So it differs a little depending on if you have a prepaid app or a freemium app, free plus in-app purchases. My first 3 apps were prepaid, so this funnel was easier, shorter, right? Because like a download equals sale for me, for those apps. But now I also have two apps that are free to download, and later there is a paywall, and there are some features. One of those apps is just like there is just a one lifetime license to buy after. I don't have subscriptions there yet. I'm planning to add them. But another has subscriptions and a lifetime license. So this sales funnel is a little longer, right? Like because maybe more people will download your app than a prepaid app, but only some percent of those people will convert to paying customers, right?
Right.
And the App Store optimization is like at the beginning of this funnel. It's like so first the how many people even saw your app, right? Like how does Apple call this in English? I forgot.
Discover. You want to say how they discover your application?
Impressions. This was the word.
Impression.
Like how many impressions do you have, right? So Apple defines impressions that people showed your app, saw your app icon in the App Store.
When they see the list of applications, if they saw your application in that one, then it's considered to be an impression.
Yeah, but this could be in search results, but this can also be in when they just browse the App Store, because maybe your app is on some list already, some ranking list, right? Maybe it's like a best most downloaded app in this category, right? So people can see it there, or maybe through ads, whatever. Just like impressions is like if your app icon will show on the screen, right, in the App Store. This is impression. And maybe some people will not even, they're just scrolling search results, for example. Your app showed there at, I don't know, maybe place 47 on the list, right? Like people just scroll it. It was like half of the second on the screen. This is impression already, right?
Right. Okay.
So
that's impression for you.
So this is impression for Apple, right? Like this is how Apple defines it, and it's very important to understand this, like how they define this. Later, next step of the funnel is that product page views, right?
Yeah.
So your app was visible for users on the screen, and some percent of those people actually tapped on the icon on your app, and
right.
And they were moved to your product page, right?
Right.
And later, next step is like if people will actually download the app, right? And all those 3 steps is App Store optimization. Later, what happens in the app when they download it, this is different things. This is like a more user experience side of things, for example, right? Like if how many features you actually have, they were good or not. If your value proposition is good enough, people decide to pay for some pro features. These are other things, right? But those first 3 steps is App Store optimization, that you can do something about this to get more downloads. So for example, you can improve first of all those impressions to make your app visible for users. most of the things that you can do is improve your keywords. For example, this is
Mm-hmm.
where Astro comes to help you, right? That you can
Right.
research those keywords and check which keywords are popular, which keywords are difficult, because maybe there are very popular, but there are so many other apps. You have big competitions
Right.
and those apps have more downloads, more ratings, and like your
And it's
app,
difficult to compete.
yeah. So
Yeah.
your app will not even show on the list of results. Like it will show, but like maybe I don't know, like a
At the
323 position. No one will go there, right?
30 from the bottom.
Yeah. So you can do few things that, for example, something that Matteo told me to do that
Yeah.
you need to use keywords in your app name, because like they have more weight, more value there, right?
Yeah.
And secondary keywords to in your subtitle of your app, and the other things in the keywords list, right? So like
Okay.
in those three places, only there. Apple doesn't care what you have in app description, for example, on screen or screenshots, just this, right?
Right.
Which sounds very easy, but there are some aspects to it that make it a little more complex. So there are many aspects. I don't know how much into details we want to go there, but
I think we should get into the deepest detail, whatever if possible, because uh, this is something that will eventually help people to get the business out there. Because developing an application is a different game altogether, and
Mhm.
then making sure that it works on the App Store, I think that's
Mhm.
something that people eventually want to do. So I
Yes.
believe that's the most important step.
Yeah. So for example, you need to take care of those keywords to that your app will even show in the results, right? And if you improve those keywords, if you find better keywords, that your app will show higher in the results, that people
Hmm.
will actually see it. And later there is this also important thing like a app icon, that because
Right.
your app is on the list, but if the icon is somehow attractive, right? Like that catches the eye of people, that there is a higher chance that they will actually tap on this icon and app title, and they will
Okay.
go to the product page. And on product page, you need good screenshots and app description as well. But I think that mostly screenshots. I think this is also one of the reasons why we have those tools from Apple to A/B test app icon and A/B test app screenshot, but we don't have anything for testing app description, for example, right?
Okay. Okay.
So I think that this probably tell us, I, I understand it like that, that screenshots are just far more important than app descriptions, that in general, this also aligns with what I've seen on those tests that I told you about, that like people don't read too much. They just like
Right.
maybe they will read big headlines on screenshots. Maybe someone will go into details, but most of people will just like, oh, nice screenshots. Maybe, oh, I see some features that I'm interested in. I will download it and check it by myself. But
Right.
yeah, but so you can of course experiment it. It would be nice to know from other people if maybe someone did some A/B tests by themselves, because we don't have tools for this. So they would need to change app description in the next version and later compare results to previous versions. So
Doesn't any SDK allow you to test this part where you can check the difference between like description, readability, and the
I
screenshot
don't know
part?
about anything like this, because you can change the app description when you release new version. So you cannot have you cannot have A/B tests, because you cannot have two different descriptions at the same time, existing the same time
Right.
on the App Store, right? You
Right.
can only have different versions of app icon and different versions
Right.
of screenshots. We have those tools directly from Apple in the App Store Connect. You can run
Right.
those tests, But again, they are not. I don't have much success with them yet, because you need really a lot of data to see some meaningful results. For example, right now I'm 4 weeks in the process of testing. I'm testing this for 4 weeks right now. Different set of screenshots for my app, and and it was like this new version that I'm testing against the original one. Like in the first day, it was worse by 60%. Like a conversion rate was lower by 60%. Second day, it was higher by 10%, and for first week it was higher. It was better by 10%, and now it's down a little. But all the time, like there is very important thing that people ignore very often. That Apple tell us the confidence level. Apart from the conversion rate change, the change of conversion rate, there's also this metric that shows you how confident we are that this data is accurate. So after 4 weeks of my free to download app, I have confidence at level 0.2%. So there is
that's too low.
99.8% chance that maybe those results are wrong.
Are not, of course, yeah. That's a waste of time.
Yeah, so I still have a problem with doing something meaningful with this. I'm still testing this. But so far, I tested my app icon 1 time, and I tested screenshots 2 times, and I never had any meaningful results with high confidence. That just I saw some trends after. And localize your product page, right? You know about this or not? Yeah. So I think 40 something languages, right? Like you can localize.
Right.
And what does it mean? That you can, but you don't have to. You can localize app description and screenshots, which I am doing only when my app is localized in these languages. If not, I will just leave it in English, right? Because I don't want to confuse people that my app is available in your language when it's not.
Not really.
But what I'm doing is that I localize keywords in those 3 places that I told you, that app name, subtitle, and keywords. So I localize most of my apps. Are localized in every language possible in the App Store Connect. And because of this, I found some opportunities in some other countries that maybe people don't think about. Like, because most people think, because they've heard somewhere that United States are the biggest market for apps, for example, right? And they think like, okay, so I will not care about other countries. I will just only, I will not localize my product page. I will just release it in English and with English keywords, and just I only care about United States. But this is the big mistake, because okay, if I look at my my sales combined, like if you look at other countries, for example, in European countries combined, I have much more money from there than from the US. United States, yeah. Also the United States, it's much more difficult. It's more saturated. Like everyone is optimizing for US. So don't do it. Just like a focus on other countries, because there are still some opportunities there.
Yeah. And do you see any upward trend in any one of the continents or maybe countries where the adoption was not there maybe 4 years ago, and now these countries are adopting to get into subscription, like the customers behavior is slightly changing a bit and being positive towards getting into subscriptions?
Uh, I don't know, because I have apps only 2 years on the App Store, right? So
Okay.
like this is just short time, but also something that when I see some changes, I see this is maybe not exactly answer to your question, but like I just look at this from different perspective, uh, because I think that it there are some websites and there are some reports like where you can read, for example, that USA and maybe Korea and Germany and Japan, like there are those biggest markets, and you can learn about some trends that like maybe in these
Yeah.
countries people prefer to download apps for free and later buy subscriptions, but in these countries people are more willing to pay for prepaid. But this,
Right.
to be honest, this knowledge didn't help me much, like, because there are some countries where the market is, from what I've read, from those statistics that I've read, that they have big markets, and I even have my apps localized in languages for this country. Maybe I'm not successful enough with the ASO in these countries because there are, we are talking about different languages. Sometimes you will translate those keywords, but there
Right.
are some cultural aspects maybe that or maybe you use
That
some.
adds in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there are many many things that many.
Parameters that you have to take care of.
Yeah, exactly, thank you. uh, so sometimes it didn't give me much, but what I'm seeing is that localizing your app to different languages than just English, this is another thing that works for me. The,
That works for you. Okay.
yeah, that I see that, like I have more downloads and I have more sales from countries where I actually localize the app, that I also localize the screenshots, but first thing is that
Right.
the app is localized, because this is something that many people forget, or like they don't think about this, that they assume that everyone speaks English, which is not true. And even
True.
when people speak English, many people prefer to use the app in their.
Their native language.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are so many apps that are only in English, and you can check your competition, and you can check how many languages they actually have, and very often you may discover that most of those apps are only in English. So for you,
Yeah.
adding Dutch or Italian or Swedish or whatever, right? Like suddenly you will have. Adding Germany works for me for some apps, but not all of them. So it's also interesting that it's not really just like a one-to-one, that like you learn, okay, Germany is big language, a big market, you add a German language to your app, and you
Yeah.
will be a millionaire. But maybe it will work for some of apps. Like most of my apps, they sell in Germany, but not all of them, which was surprising for me too. Maybe sometimes it's just like there are those many factors that we don't know. Like maybe some other app from this category is already very popular
Right.
in this country, right? Like everyone is using this, so it's just
Right.
harder to to start in this market.
Yeah. What's your plan with the visionOS release? Like, people are buying the visionOS glasses now, and
Mm-hmm.
there will be a new market that is going to be created.
Yeah,
So, are
there
you
will
currently
be.
thinking of getting into that side, or what's your
I
plan with
think
that?
I think it's very exciting, but I don't have any plans for this anytime soon. Like, for example, my apps, I think they will benefit more if I add macOS version to some of them.
I see.
For example, this time tracking app, right? This right now it's only on iOS. It works, you can export your time records to through AirDrop to your Mac. It's very easy
Yeah.
and convenient, but it would be much better to have a macOS version, right? But I think more people will benefit from this than having this on Vision OS, right?
Yeah. True.
Also, that not many people will have it, right? And most people will probably. I think first users will probably use it for watching TV, gaming, video
Right.
calls, things like that. I think I know that Apple advertises that we can work with this. You can wear this helmet for a few hours, right?
What do you
I
think
don't
about it
know.
personally? Would you be interested in wearing it for like 3 hours, not just for the whole day, 3 hours? What do you think?
For 2-3 hours, yeah, it depends on what would I do with this, right? So
Right.
So so
Utility.
I for my work maybe not yet. Some use cases they look interesting and maybe in the future they will be nice. It would be nice. For example, we were talking with my friends about this because we have regular Monday video calls with few of my indie friends where we talk about
Okay.
our apps and business. We have it on FaceTime. I think it would be very cool if we all had this magic helmet and just
I
see each
see.
other. I think it would be nice, but working with this, I don't like to wear glasses. I have glasses, but my eyes are good enough that I don't need them. So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I personally, this is my personal preference that I don't need. I don't like to wear anything on my head, glasses.
Which is that huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially that this first version, it will not be super light, right? It's not maybe
True.
super heavy, but wearing this for a few hours, I think you might be tired with this. But I think some experiences, I don't know if it was advertised or I was just thinking about this. That imagine you have some football team that you really like, that they are far
Okay.
away, and you can wear this to have a better experience, to feel like you are in the stadium, like that you're not watching them, but it's that you can look around and see the football pitch, and have a
But I don't
completely
really
different.
find any difference between this and having the VR headsets because
uh,
VR is actually doing that already, right? It's just one step ahead into that
it's
space.
very
I would not say
similar to
VR.
this, right?
It's
Yeah,
AR, but yeah,
yeah. So it's very, so it's very similar, right? Okay, so the VR part, but with visionOS also we have this AR, because we can see our room and we have
right.
those extra layers and we can see this app here, and it's so it looks interesting. I think it it's future, but I am not there yet.
Same.
Personally, I like that I'm just portable. I can take my laptop somewhere, just
Yeah, yeah,
going with this headset somewhere. I think it's very interesting product, and I think that it's hard to predict, really, because there are many interesting use cases, and I think that maybe
right.
many professional use cases, because we think about some things just from the commercial user perspective,
Yeah,
but I think, for example, studying in this, I don't know, let's say you study medicine, right? And you want
yeah,
to be a doctor, with
yeah.
with
That's a
this
good one.
AR experience, you can interact with, you can see operation, for example, in a 3D, that you can interact with this, right? I think
Right,
that there will be so many cool things about, or for example, you want to learn how to fix a car or something like this, and you can see this everything from different angle, and just I think it will be really amazing for education as well. So
yeah.
I'm excited about where we are
It
going with
goes.
this. but I'm just not there yet, and I think that my apps, that they will benefit from other things like adding Apple Watch
Got it.
support and macOS support. So
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Got your point. Got your point. I share similar views on the same, so I will not add anything to whatever you just said. That's awesome. So, Chris, I believe we would be wrapping this conversation here with the one or two questions max. And
Okay.
these questions will be for people who are listening to us, and we would like to, tell them from your experience, what would be your advice, your number one advice to them, what mistakes they should not make that you have already made in this journey of becoming an indie app developer. What would your top advice for them? Yeah,
Heavy question. Don't worry too much about making mistakes, because this is there are some small things that, but like most of the time you can just fix them. So for example, I created my apps. This is a technical issues, right? Like that, I created my app, iOS apps, and I didn't add app group support since version 1, and later adding this to existing app, and you need this if you, for example, want to add iOS widgets to your app, or make your app also work with Apple Watch. So you need this.
yeah,
But adding this later is more complex, and I spent many hours trying to fix this. But also, benefit from this, that like I learned a lot from this. I wrote an article because this was one of those topics that's like
yeah,
I know that later in the future, if I want to add this to my other app, I will forget it. I will need to learn this again. So I wrote this article, and it helped many other people. Many people even followed me because of this article, or wrote to me, which was really nice. Like that, someone said, and sometimes it was like from those messages came from people that they are not just that I consider them, but they are more experienced developers.
yeah.
But just like in this small part, like I help them with something. So this built my confidence, right? So
Yeah,
this was definitely a technical mistake from my side, and some oversight that maybe I didn't do enough research. So yeah, the advice is do more research, but don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes will happen all the time. We are
okay.
You need to learn to fix mistakes. This job is
That's
about,
a skill.
yeah, this job is about solving problems and fixing
Yeah,
mistakes. So
yeah,
yeah,
makes
I
sense. And
yeah, and in more general way, look at the sense, look at that. Just just do whatever, I don't know, makes you happy, and like you believe in something. Just do it. Be brave to do those new things, because okay, when I started, what age I was when I started learning coding, that maybe 35 or something,
okay,
or 36. So many people would consider this late, just like that. But I don't care, and you should not care. Like this is your life, and just
right,
like sometimes you will discover something new, something that, as I said, like maybe this job didn't exist when I was in my 20s, right? And and
right,
and there is this, I don't know, new technology, new opportunity. You learn something. You learn that this exists. You learn that you like it. You tried something new. So just be brave, and like don't worry too much what other people will think. You just like, if you like it, do it. Just, yeah, and just don't worry too much about mistakes. You will learn from mistakes. It's the best way to learn from your mistakes.
awesome. That's a great advice. With that said, I believe, Chris, we will wrap this session here. And I believe the audience that is listening to us right now would have eventually got some value out of our conversation, which went for like 2 hours, I believe, which is great. So if you are here till this point, then you have actually been able to figure out what we were trying to, get out of this conversation. Me personally got a lot of things to know from you today, which I really found insightful, Chris. So thank you so much for that. And I believe we can do many more such sessions in the coming future if people liked it. Also, guys, you can follow Chris on his Twitter. I'll link his Twitter bio in the description, and all the applications that he has built so far, I'll also plug them in the description box so that you can check them out. Also, his blog that he was talking about. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new episode. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.